Okay, welcome everyone to our Board of Education regular meeting. If you would, we'd like to have a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated. First order of business is the approval of our agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, we have some minutes from our July 18th, 2023 regular board meeting. We'd like a motion for approval, please.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. The next item on our agenda is our communications, and Mr. Nays, Director of our band, coming forward, please.
Howdy. We are the drum majors of the Farmington High School Black Knight Marching Band. My name is Eli Sullivan.
My name is Michael Williams.
Today we'll be talking about the upcoming event that we will be hosting. The Farmington Band Boosters will be hosting the 25th Annual Farmington Marching Invitational on September 16th, 2023. This event brings 3,000 to 4,000 spectators onto the Farmington High School campus for a day of music and marching.
The field competition will begin at 1 o'clock p.m. with a performance from our very own Black Knight Marching Band. Currently, there are bands entered from as far away as Pattonville and Dexter, as well as many other local schools. Bands will perform for a panel of judges in competition. We also feature a drumline showcase for participating schools, as well as the FHS Nightline and exhibition.
The Farmington Band Boosters is an integral in running this event. Our invitational is known all around the area for having helpful parents and a great hospitality room for bus drivers and other band directors. The parent in charge of heading up this year's event is Matt Klump, parent of Caroline Klump.
In September 1998, the first annual Farmington Marching Invitational was held in memory of John Beery. Mr. Beery was president of the Farmington Band Boosters the preceding year. It was his dream to someday host a competitive marching festival for high school parade and field bands. Since that time, the Farmington Band Boosters have hosted this event annually.
We would like to invite you to attend the festivities during the day. If you'd like to assist in concessions, traffic control, or first aid, we welcome your help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Performance yesterday. Looking forward to the year.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Like that uniform, sharp. Thank you very much. All right, next, Ms. Mindy Southern will have a short presentation for us on the district communication plan.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me tonight. Our annual communications report is up, and the first thing that I'd like to report on is that we have been a part, or the communications department has been a part of helping with the CSIP plan, and that one of the standards that's set by the state is on leadership, and that the school system will provide two-way, reliable, and representative communication with all stakeholders. So as we're planning for the coming year, that goal is in mind, all right? The communication team has 14 members. Each building has 2 representatives, except for Daisy Baker has 1. Each of those individuals help put together newsletters for that particular building focused on the things that are going on there. We have they also run the social media for that building. So each building has a Facebook page and they run the social media for that. They monitor it, and each person posts at least 3 times per week per page. The next slide talks about our communication methods. We have a strong online presence. We use Infinite Campus as our new student information system that will allow us some of the communication that we do. Our website, social media, something called Peach Jar that I'll go through in a little bit, which is a digital bulletin board. Two-way messaging, again, that goes back to our CSIP goal. We have our Remind messaging system where we can message families and they can message us back through that. We have email for that. Social media is a way that people can contact us. We have a One Community feedback form where parents can give us feedback on our Farmington 4 focus areas. And then we attend several parent and community events where people can give us face-to-face feedback as well. We participate in or lead and help facilitate a variety of school or community-led events. And bless you. And we have 12 monthly newsletters that go out to the community. A district newsletter, and then one per building that go out. Well, the 12 monthly is to the community, and the buildings, they send one out starting in September through May. This year, we're looking at doing 4 printed newsletters and mailing those out to the Farmington community because we do know that there is a group of people that we are missing through only our email and digital communications. So we're looking at putting together quarterly print newsletters to send out to the community. So some of the statistics and information, again, Remind is a 2-way messaging system. The user chooses how they receive their messages. They can choose text, email, or the app. It's uniform for all parents. That way, they're not having to download a different app for every club or classroom that they're belonging to. The messages are logged, and we can access those at any time. It allows for pictures, links, videos, attachment, polls, and more. Each teacher has an account, and the classes are created and rostered for them through our student information system. Each building has an account, and coaches and sponsors can create their own groups as well. Last year, 1,358,409 messages were received. That doesn't mean we sent that, that many different messages. That's how many that were received. 610,883 were received in the app. People, again, get to choose if they want it via text message, email, and you can see overwhelmingly for the majority we're choosing either text message or the app. It also allows our users to choose their language preference. So we have 7 individuals who've chosen to get all of their messages in Spanish, 2 in Chinese, and 2 in Armenian. Our website had 88,000 users, unique users that came to it last year. They participated in 331,000 different sessions, and they spend an average of about 2 minutes on our website each time they're there. And our homepage, student page, staff page, and events page were our top pages on our website. Again, 12 district newsletters, 9 monthly building newsletters. We send those out via Remind. Remind, again, will either be emailed out, texted out, or through the app. On average, for our district newsletter, it has 1,622 average views per month that we get from the community. 7 minutes is the average amount of time that people spend reading that, which is a lot of time. Usually videos, once it's longer than 3 or 4 minutes, they don't watch it or look at it. So the fact that people are spending 7 minutes reading through our newsletters, I feel is a good thing. And we do focus on our Farmington 4 in the newsletters. Our Facebook reach is up 8.7% for the year. Number of unique users who actually see our posts or our page We posted on our district page almost 500 times in the past year. We have 6,632 followers, most of which are women, and our average post reaches about 53,000 people. Twitter, we don't get as much traction there, but we do still have several people that follow us on Twitter, and I will say more people follow us on Twitter for sports than they do for other things. Peach Jar is a digital bulletin board system that we have. We do not take as many flyers and print them out and put them in backpacks like we used to do. Instead, people can send us a PDF of their wrestling fundraiser or an upcoming camp or whatever it may be, and those get emailed out to parents and they get posted on a digital bulletin board, which is on each building's page on the website. Last year, we sent 255 flyers, and that's a paper savings of 260,000 pieces of paper. Our Knights tip line is another way that we offer two-way communication. This is managed by Mr. Kraus and the safety team. It's available on our website. It's on the parent, staff, and student tab. It's anonymous reporting, and school officials are notified when you submit the form. And then we participate in a variety of different events, chamber luncheons, homecoming, just a lot of things to where we have that opportunity to have face-to-face interaction with the community. And then finally, we do have One Community feedback forms on our website under the One Community website. And on each of those forms, individuals from the community can offer us feedback on academics, community connectedness, all of our Farmington 4 that you see there. And if someone fills that out, I get a notification so that I know that those questions can be answered. And that's all I have. Do you all have any questions for me?
Mindy, I just got one question. Do we have any idea how many people that live out in the country that doesn't have internet service, that they can't get to this?
I don't know that exact number, but that's one of the reasons we want to do the printed newsletter as well. And with that printed newsletter, a lot of people, they might not have the internet service, but they'll have cell phone service. And we plan to include QR codes so they can scan that QR code and it would take them to some of those online resources that maybe they're not getting other ways. But I think a lot of people are accessing the internet on their cell phones at home, and we're getting a lot of users that way.
Okay, good.
How much time, I'm sorry, go ahead. How much time is involved in keeping our website up to date with all this information? I know it's just changing constantly, so what all is involved in doing that?
Well, last year, I had Kelly Grief helped me, administrative assistant, and it was very time consuming. She went through and helped me look at every single link that was on the webpage that was broken. Again, there are other people that maybe make pages and they put them on ours, so like the counselors or the nurses, and so then we have to go through and check all of their links to make sure everything's up to date. So it's that part, it can be kind of time consuming, yes. And if you find anything that's wrong, please email me because we want to have it fixed for sure. So Peach Jar, anyone from the community can email me or can submit a form through Peach Jar. So if the Girl Scouts want to invite people to a meeting or the Civic Center has camps going on, they can submit their flyer there. It comes to me for approval. At the bottom, it says that it's not necessarily endorsed by us as a school district, but it's that place that we send those flyers out, and it gets emailed out to every parent that's in our system. You're welcome. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next items is just some informational items there in your board packets for our monthly financial reporting and some handbook changes on our bus rider handbook and transportation manual, just for your review and information. But okay, next is like a presentation by Ms. Valley Becker will present on our annual Secretary of the Board report.
Good evening. I know normally you guys just have it in your consent agenda and you approve it, but I wanted to do like a Cliff Notes version of the ASBR and the information that is involved in it. So I made this presentation for us. On the first slide, you will see the total amount of revenue, as well as the total amount of expenses, our budget surplus, as well as our ending unrestricted fund balances, which 38.57% is very respectable. I also wanted to show you what the actual screens look like. So this is an actual screenshot of the ASBR screen where after I've put in all of our information, it tabulates that information that I had on the first slide. Now the next slide is the actual SysFin, which is our accounting software. That's what the screen looks like, and you can see where they get that information from. On the Part 1 summary, it shows the ending fund balances for all 4 funds. Each year, as required by DESE, we zero out the special revenue, which is the teacher's fund, except for that restricted balance, which represents our cafeteria plan for our employees' medical reimbursement flex spending accounts. And also, under Fund 1, you saw that restricted balance. That's for the classified staff. And then on page 1 and 2, that shows the transfer that you guys voted on June 29th, where I made the transfer. Also, our debt service fund balance is maintained through using the MDDP program, which that's our monthly DESE payments. This fund is at a healthy level, and it ensures that we're able to make all of our bond and interest payments. So just some key things. On pages 2 through 6, you can see our local revenue breakdown, the county revenue, the state formula payments, all of our federal payments that we received, as well as our other revenue. And then on page 7, it shows the total revenue, which I had on the very first slide. Now, our state formula is a payment that's based on our higher weighted ADA, which the district has been maintaining since COVID. But I think we have 1 more year, and then we're going to have to be, it's going to be on our regular weighted ADA.
May I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Or ask that maybe Dr. Gibbs, but I know you made mention of this the other day. Can you give somebody what that impact might be financially on us?
Yes, so our weighted ADA is right below, that we're getting paid on is, $3,900. And since COVID and not being able to get attendance back up, our actual enrollment has stayed about flatlined. Maybe like, I think working with Crystal Hudson, 4 students were gained at some point. But we're just not seeing the attendance rates, and then we've not been able to recoup the free and reduced lunch rates to the same level, which when you calculate weighted ADA, those calculate at a higher rate. And so without those numbers where they were pre-COVID, we're calculating about over 100 to 150 points less on our weighted ADA, which every one of those points is 6,375, 6,375. So you can kind of do the math. If it were 100, we'd be over $600,000 deficit when this formula kicks in, as much as $1 million if we don't get those numbers back up. So we're constantly thinking of how we can get attendance back up, and Crystal Hudson's going to be working with the principals on attendance meetings, and then we've also been very intentional in working on free and reduced lunch count, getting that back up. Because for 2 years, lunches were free, so people just got out of the habit of filling out the form, and so we've had trouble breaking the habits of poor attendance, not filling out the forms. And so that will impact us significantly. We have been able to, as not to take any thunder, but that last line there where I kind of bolded that, we collected $2.8 million in federal relief money from ESSER, and that is one-time money. If you think back to that first slide, our budget surplus was $2.6 million. So if you think of that in the context of we took in an extra $2.8 million in one-time money, we actually did have, you think of it a little bit of a deficit spending. And, like we gave out raises, we have new positions, so we're going to have to look carefully at that when we reset to that new weighted ADA. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so then, the key points for our expenditures, the bulk of the report is pages 9 through 33, which shows the expenditures any which way you'd want to see them. Part 3A shows it by the program and by fund. B shows it by the program and object code, or C shows it by the object and fund. So it's several different ways of looking at the same information. It's just broken down differently according to codes that we use. And then on page 32, that lists the total expenditure amount, which matches my amount on the slide 1. Then the last is our debt. On page 34, we didn't borrow any money. We made our bonds and lease payments, you can see, plus our interest. So we're doing pretty good. Does anybody have any questions?
You mentioned our reserve is 38% or so. So what is the mandated requirement that we have to have in reserve? Is there a state?
There's no state minimum. A district our size would not have to have as large of a reserve as a smaller district. With our $45 million budget, we have a healthy reserve at 16 million right now, so we can draw on that. And that's a really safe margin for us. You get it into a smaller district, where I came from at $11 million budget would be, 25% was always our goal in our CSIP. We don't have a goal that we established in our CSIP of where we want to stay. If that was something that we want to look at to say we're going to stay above 20%. When I was an administrator in Hannibal, we always were kind of trying to stay 18% because we had a very similar budget to what we had here. So I would say 18 to 20 is where we need to be. We built that a lot because of the ESSER funds. So we can ride out that reset to the lower weighted ADA, but we just have to be cautious without that funding coming in if we don't get that ADA back up. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your guys' support and patience as I transition in this new role. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Becker. Thank you. Okay, Mr. John Kraus, I believe you're next on a safety program, emergency response intervention plan evaluation, and long-range plan. We'll talk about all the plans.
So those that say I don't play well with others, that's why. Mimi and I have been playing well together, and she's let me take credit for the gifts that you guys are getting. Pass those around. You guys think that's funny? Come on. So what I'm going to be talking about, you have the trainings on I believe, a Google Doc. Everything tied to CSIP. So kind of give you an update on where we're at in preparation for the school year, and then I'm going to quickly go through a site that Mindy and I have been working on that has been needed for a while. So you guys know, if you remember a couple years back, it's been a while now, we continue to improve it, but we have a staff Google site where all of our emergency information is housed for staff members. It has our functional annexes for staff members, and continue to try to update that. That's one thing with our safety committee members. We update that in the summer. I was able to sit with each of them. In the past, we would do one meeting, they would go do their work, and sometimes that wasn't updated the way that it needed to. So we changed that process this summer. I sat with each of the safety committee members individually, and I feel more confident that we're more uniform across the district and things where they need to be. We've also been doing our walkthroughs to make sure that our radios are in place, and the people that have them are supposed to have them, our emergency equipment for emergency response teams in place, and where it's supposed to be, et cetera. So I feel really good about where we're at, as well as I have at any time at the start of a school year. Of course, our emergency response training, we're in the buildings now doing our 3-hour training that we do at the beginning of each year. We're doing a little less with specifically with active shooter training. We're still doing Stop the Bleed. We're doing emergency response review. I was able to spend an hour and a half with each of the new staff last week to give them more in depth, so that's good. We got to kind of get away from that in the buildings with veteran staff, and then we've hit risk assessment a little harder this year than we have the last couple of years, just because we haven't been able to hit it the way that I want to. And that really has an impact on potentially reducing or preventing those intruder type of situations with identification of risk. So the training's going well. I'm about halfway through. It drains you. You do 3 hours at a time at the same thing for 4 days in a row. It gets pretty monotonous. But we're getting through it, and it's going well. On the document, you can also see we have our date set for our emergency response teams, which would be search and rescue, medical team, reunification. We will walk through when we train as a drill. And then we will be doing incident command training and some training at the board office, which we have neglected. And then we will get to individual buildings with our student staff accounting training at the beginning of the year. We're going to do that individually. So there are 3 things that I like to say that will get school districts in trouble pretty quickly with emergency management and emergency response. One, if you don't have plans in place, and if you do have those plans in place, if you don't train those plans. And don't have the equipment to run that. We're in good shape there. The second thing that's going to get you in trouble is the inability to communicate or alert staff and students in an emergency. And we're in a much better. There for a while we had some issues with intercoms. We still have some issues, but we have a lot of redundancy, whether it's with our Crisis Go app and the ability to send out alerts there and continue to message and get information, whether it's the numerous staff members that have radios, intercoms, phones. We have multiple ways that we can get staff information and update during emergencies. The third thing that's going to get you in trouble is the inability to account for students if you do have an emergency happen. And we got to be able to identify if we're missing students, if they're injured, et cetera, so that we can do what we need to do if first responders aren't available. In the past, you know that we've been trying to use Crisis Go for that, and it never worked for us. We were never in a drill situation able to account for 100%, anywhere close to 100% of students during a drill. So we've moved away and we've gone to kid account. The good thing about that is kid account, staff is familiar. That's all they do is reunification. They're familiar with the app. It's not like every 3 months they have to refigure out how to use it. So I'm really excited about the opportunity, or how beneficial that's going to be to us. So with that being said, I'm going to have Corey go ahead and pull up the one place that we've really been probably a piece that we've been missing is educating the public on what we're doing and being more intentional with that. So Mindy, has been pushing. I've been wanting to do it, and she's pushed me along. But we've created this emergency guide for families. So basically, it's taking emergency operations and it's breaking it down into our 4 phases like we do when we're training staff. It's that identification of a threat. It's the response, that immediate response to the threat to mitigate harm, and then what we do in management phase or the secondary phase, and then recovery. So that's the main page there. The magnet that you got has a QR code on it. This is going to be going out to TLC for open house, and then we're going to be providing the QR code at the other schools for now and potentially ordering new magnets. But families will be able to scan that code. It'll bring them to this site, and then they can navigate through. And basically what we're doing, if you'll click on Identify, they'll be able to click on the tab and scroll down a little bit. It gives a little explanation of what we're doing during identification, and then it'll get a blurb for staff, students, families, and community on what we're doing, what we can expect from them. So that's the identification. Then you get into Respond. We've got a graphic in there. Mindy did a nice job. Can you just click on Respond and see? Yeah, so scroll down a little bit. There's a nice graphic that explains. We have 7 classroom responses. They're the same responses that schools have been using forever. But it tells why we would use them and what basically, what type of emergency we would use them for. Then we can click on that drop down, and it says staff's doing this, students are expected to do this, families, et cetera. So we have that for each of the different types of responses. Then we get into manage and stabilize. The big thing that we need parents to understand, and we've got to do a better job of educating the public on, is that, during an emergency, we're going to care for your kids. we're gonna do everything we can to keep them safe. We can't have people showing up on school grounds during an emergency because it's gonna delay response for us, it's gonna delay response for emergency responders, and cause issues, especially with reunification. If we were ever to get to the point where we can't continue the school day and we have to return students to their family, there's a very safe process, a double-gated system that we need to use, that we'll use Kid Account. And now that we're using Kid Account, it expedites the system. We used to have to print every demographic sheet. You've seen it, the binders are here. With Kid Account, if we don't have data available, we can run a report every week. And it's at Truman, it's 8 pages long. It has every child on those 8 pages, and it has who can pick them up. So if we don't have Wi-Fi available, it's kid pickup. They do it on a daily basis. They're either doing it with their app or they're doing it with paper copy. So it's I'm really excited about it. But the thing that we need to get out to parents is that we want to return your child to you as soon as possible, but we've got to do it in a safe and efficient way. And so that's some of that information that we're going to start getting out to the public. So again, I know Mindy's really excited about this, and I'm pretty excited as well. It's been a while it's needed to happen. So at this time, if you have any questions, updates on what we're doing, where we're at, I'd be happy to take those.
I just noticed that calm classroom.
A calm classroom, is that on there?
Almost like an oxymoron. Explain what
Maybe. I understand the basis of it. So everything that we're doing, and it's like I explained, Truman, I'm doing risk assessment today, and we're not going to identify, we have students that present behaviors that could be dangerous or risky in nature, but you're not going to find a kindergartner that's on a path to violence. We also need to create a culture of being able to report, right? And that starts in everything that we're doing. Maslow's hierarchy is starting in kindergarten, right? So we're talking about emotional IQ, we're talking about social IQ, the ability to regulate. And we know that academically, the kids that are able to do that are obviously going to do better academically. So whether it is those calm classrooms, conscious discipline, all of those things that we're putting in place, those support pieces outside of academics, are helping kids, rewiring that brain, teaching them to, in conflict, slow down. So I'm assuming the calm classrooms are about spaces for those children when they are escalated, their working limbic system, to be able to take that break, get some exercise, or do whatever coping skills that they need so that they can return to the classroom, the regular classroom or setting. So I need you to know also, Crisis Go, we're still with the tip line is still associated with Crisis Go. We're using that, so yeah. Yep. Any other questions?
I think this is really impressive, John, the advancements that y'all made since you started the program back, and I know this has been very trying for everyone, and it's amazing everything you've got in place here now.
I could not be happy. The district has been amazing. I say it all the time. I couldn't be happier. The things that they let me do and the reason that they let me do it, it's not for me, it's for the district and to keep students and staff safe. It's a great place. Yeah, I think people would be really surprised if they actually got in and looked at other districts and what we're doing, comparatively speaking. So,
No, that's amazing. Yeah. Keep up the good work.
thank you.
All right, for our consensual agenda, what we'd like to do, I think, is we'd like to seek approval for items 501 through 5.07, with the exception of 5.04, which is our resolution on our general obligation bonds. So if we could have a motion for consensual agenda approval with the exception of 5.04.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we'd like to approve our 5.04, which is the resolution for the general obligation refunding bonds, which we had a presentation on in our earlier hearing. So if you would, a motion for that, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Any other business, anything else before we move into our closed session? Okay, well, if not, then I'd ask for a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Make a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss personnel pursuant to 610.021, paragraphs 1, 3, 13, and 14.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes. Freeman. Yes. Klein. Yes. Kane.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes?
Noble.
Yes. Okay, that concludes our meeting. Thank you so much for attending. Appreciate it. Have a great evening.